Hey guys, and welcome to Top Channel 101, and today we're going to be making this beer and pouring it into a glass. We have bubbles, we have foam. Yeah, let's see how we can set it up. You can see it's not a really complicated project. We just have a collider and a domain, and then our emitter. Let's make the glass 16 waxes, other subdivisions. Just make something simple. Just pull this up and then Control B to kind of, something like that. Add a supporting loop there, add a supporting loop there, and maybe just push these in a bit like that. Perfecto. Just going to let's set up some materials as we go. I'll go to Cycles, render here, an environment for our glass to refract and reflect. Let's get something simple. Glass, I'm just going to use the glass BSD. You can see how the reflections look here, and if I remove this, they even look worse. If you add a solidify modifier, you get better glass, but I want detail at the bottom here, so instead of using a solidify modifier, I'm just going to come in here, select, I think up to around here, Shift D, push that in using Alt S. This is going to be the thickness of our glass, and Shift N to flip the normals. And now I can just connect these. So this is going to be the thickness of our glass. Bridge this, bridge. Okay, to also be filled. Let's work on the simulation. Add a cube. This is going to be the domain. I'm using my quick fluids add-on to speed up my fluids process, but you don't need the add-on to do that. You can just go into the tab here, into the physics tabs, and do everything that I'm doing here using that. I'm just accessing all these functions from this add-on. So just create a domain. You can see that creates my domain. This is our inflow objects. Basically, if you don't have the add-on, you just go under fluid and then flow, and then type liquid and then inflow. I'm just doing it directly here by just pressing one button, and that is set up for me. Since I do a lot of fluids, I just had to create an add-on that helps me do that. We don't need the domain to be this big. Remember, the bigger the domain, the more simulation time is going to take, or the more subdivisions you're going to need for your fluid to have a high resolution. So making this as small as I can. Oh, actually, this shouldn't be an inflow. It should be, so let me remove this. It should be a collider. And if you want to create a collider without the quick fluids add-on, you go to fluids, effector, and that should be it. And I want a fluid emitter. Just use a plane, have it around here. Yeah, around there. Your fluid emitter should not be smaller than your domain size. This indicates, this box here shows you your domain resolution. So if you try to create an inflow object that is smaller than your domain resolution, you won't see the fluids. Let's make this an inflow. Type inflow instead of, if we hit play, nothing is happening. You can turn on planar and we have some fluids. Now I want this to be ejected in this direction, so I will what is this? On the x-axis I should use -1. Make sure you turn on initial velocity for the initial velocity to work. Perfect. I've also increased the normal. I'm going to come in here and increase the subdivision to 62. Perfect. We can have this set to planar. Make sure that it's also, if the fluid is just going through it, you can set it to planar and get the results. Yeah. Come in here. Still you can see how much unused domain we are having. So our fluids are going to be around here, and we don't need any splashes or the fluid to spill, so we can get away with a really tight domain. So I'm just going to come in here and just make the domain as small as possible. That will also increase the domain resolution without me increasing the subdivisions. Okay, our inflow, we can increase it to -2. That's too much. -1.5. I want to mesh. This meshing settings is just under the domain. It's this here, basically turning the particles into a mesh. Okay, this is what we have. You can see if the fluid is not touching the boundaries of your mesh, that means your resolution is still not high enough. So I'm going to do 120, and if your domain is big, it's going to be slower to simulate. It's also slower here, but it's not as slow as it would be if my domain was big. So I want to see at what level my fluid fills up. So at around there, I'm going to animate my inflow object, which I think is, it's this. I'm going to animate the inflow setting. So it's on, and on frame 36, I will animate this to be off. I can go back, simulate again, and should go off. Perfect. So my fluids are spilling a bit. I don't want that. I would not want. I don't know if I want that or not. But if you don't want that, you just stop the inflow before the fluids fill up. Let's first look at how this is looking. I'm just going to select this mesh, give it a material. It will just be a glass shader. Give it some color. Maybe even add some volume absorption, indication of depth. That's too much. That's the part. This is what we have. Okay, I think I'm going to be happy with this. Looks okay. Everything is powering just fine. One other thing I could do, what I'm going to do is turn on the meshing, add the small thing to something like 3. Then I also need bubbles. Remember, all these settings are under the domain settings here, so it's what I'm doing. I'm doing exactly what you find here. I'm turning on bubbles, and yeah, let me bake for 180 frames, and turn on all, because we want to bake all. We don't need to have the boundaries on. That should cut the simulation time down again. So this is our simulation. Okay, so we have our bubbles, and we have our particles. Let me first disable the particles here. Okay, this looks too bumpy for some reason. So I'm going to play with a few settings and see what fixes this here. Okay, now this looks a bit less bumpy than we had before. And what I increased was, I increased the concavity upper and lower. It's much smoother, I think, compared to the results we had. So let me simulate, bake this one more time, and we can add the bubbles and then the foam. Okay, so here we are. We have the fluid pores, and now we just need to work on the foam. Yeah, let's do that. So let's first add the bubbles. I'm just going to create a cube here. Because we have already simulated the bubbles, I've just disabled them so that I can see through this. So here are our bubbles, and I'm just going to, they just need an object to be instanced in their position. So I'm going to add this, shade smooth, and now I can go to the domain, go to the particle system. So bubbles, render as object, and select this as the object. And you can already see, we should be able to see the bubbles in there. We just need to give them a different material. So new material. This is going to be another glass. And for bubbles, you usually want the normals to face the outside, to point out. So I'm going to go in. Let me actually just apply the subdivisions. Go in, shift in, and point onto the inside. And I'm going to also scale this down quite a lot. So I'm going to come in here and under the particles, increase the randomness to 1, and this to 0.1 as well. Now maybe 0.3. Yeah, you can see our bubbles in there. You know, even see how they look up here. Okay, so for the form, we're going to use geometry nodes. And for that, I'm going to, let me hide this for us. No, we don't. Let me hide this for a second. This is our fluid. Now we just want the form. So form usually just appears at the top here where you're seeing bubbles. So what I'm going to do is go to geometry nodes. It's a simple setup. All you have to do is isolate this top part and extrude it. So I'm going to get a normal node, separate the components. Look at this geometry. I want to look at the Z, all the faces pointing up. Use a math node or a compare node. If you increase this, you can see we get a mask for the faces that are pointing up. Yeah, we also have these bits of spots that are also going to be selected, but I don't really care about those. They're not going to be very visible in the camera. Yeah, let's do something like that. For that, I'm going to do a delete node. This is our selection and this is our geometry. We need, I think, to use less than, yeah, until you just have that part. Good thing about this is if I play back, yeah, it appears, it has the animation and everything. So you can either extrude this mesh, just the faces, and just have them point up. So I'm just going to use this. The offset should be pointing up. So if I extrude this, we get something like that. And we still have these parts here. So you can try minimizing those by just increasing that, but that creates a large gap here. But that's okay, because that's where the fluid is powering in. Oh, so if I join geometry and join back the fluids, you can see it's powering right there. We have an issue. We have a lot of extrusion here. So what I'm going to do is use a set position and just smoothen these effects a bit. So I'm going to use, I'm just going to blur the position. So the position goes into the position, and use a blur node, blur attribute, type vector, and just blur things a bit. But as you can see, that will also shrink this up. So if I use the selection, you can see that minimizes the shrink. It smoothes the top part, but not this area. So what I can do, I can extrude again around here. Again, we want to use the same offset and top. So basically, we are creating two. We just created another subdivision. So without this, we only have that. So we are essentially extruding twice to get at least 2 or 3 subdivisions. Actually, I can even repeat this again, so I get another a third subdivision there. That will help with the smoothing, making this look smooth. I think I can even go even further. I need to have this as the selection, then this as the selection. Oh, I think this is better. Let's push this up like that, and I'm just going to bring this back. Pull this back down, yeah, something like this. And, this should have a different material, so I'll just use a set material. That material should be foam, and you can see how that looks. Just look at that. I think it looks good. Okay, I'm going to select these edges here, which should be the side selection for this. Push it and push that down. So I think I can just come here and just use the side, push that down here. May do another blur here, and you have your form. Second here, turn on amid occlusion, bloom, screen space reflections, and screen space refractions. So let's work on the form material. So I have this texture I downloaded. a form texture like this, bring that in. If we add this to this, because this doesn't have any UVs, I can use generated, and that's what we have. You can also add some translucence. Yes, and that as color. I don't like that hard edge, so I'm going to go back to this mesh so that I can smoothen out that edge. So I'm going to come here, geometry nodes, and after the first extrusion, we have this and we have this. What I can do is just merge the old which one? This here with the extruded, add a join geometry, join this. Let's see if that, yeah, looks better. I think if we look at the normals, this is flipped, so I'm going to flip it and then merge by distance. Now if we extrude, let me remove this, extrude, and then extrude, smoothen, that gives us that, and this should be above that, and finally we get what we want. We add some subsurface, and now we have our fluid. Our bubbles still there. Yeah, the bubbles are there. Yeah, if you want to check out the project files, links are going to be in the description. Since we are talking about fluid simulation in Blender, you can get Flip Fluids, which is a more advanced fluid solver than Mantfluid. You can basically create better looking fluids. The fluids are more detailed, you get white water effects, high viscosity. You can even add custom fluid forces, or if you're creating something simple like a river, you can also check out Cell Fluids, which is another add-on for fluid simulation. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Project files are going to be in the description.